Hello and welcome to EcoView. I am Paul Oladpupo. On today's episode, we're turning our attention yet into another growing concern and one that affects us all, the toxins in our foods. For many families, food is not just about nourishment. It's a culture, it's a tradition, it is comfort. But what happens when the very food we trust to keep us healthy carries hidden dangers inside? This week, we're going to be spotlighting cassava-based products and even popular gluten-free foods, both of which are often considered safe or healthier alternatives. The revelations are still worrying, and the risk concerns about what is really on our plate. Cassava is a staple food for millions of Africans across the world, from gari down to fufu, cassava flour, chips, and in many other forms. It finds its way into almost every household, but cassava naturally contains compounds that can release cyanides if not processed properly, adding to the risk of this contamination during production and also packaging, and suddenly their distrusted stable is not so harmless. Now, combined with these findings, combined with a number of findings, especially one from Consumer Reports abroad, they say that gluten-free products marketed worldwide are the healthier choices and are not immune to toxins either. In fact, researchers have now found out that there's some trace of lead and also other heavy metals in food like cassava flour bread, gluten-free chips, and also some other snacks. So for families who are switching into gluten-free diets in the hope of a healthier lifestyle or healthier living, this is a sober revelation for them. Let's take a look at numbers around the world. The WHO states clearly that there's no safe level of lead exposure. They say that lead is a toxic metal that can build up in the body over time. It particularly affects children and usually it damages brain development, it lowers IQ, and also can cause long-term health complications. According to UNICEF and also Pure Health, an estimated 1 in 3 children globally, around 800 million, have blood lead levels at or above 5 micrograms per deciliter, a threshold already considered as dangerous. And with all of these statistics globally, it rings very close at home and also in our continent where cassava is a daily meal. I mean, almost everybody takes gari every day, fufu at least once or twice in a week, and all of that. I mean, later on today, most likely might take fufu or gari, one of both. The risk becomes most immediate to us. After this break, we'll be joined by a guest who will help us to dive deep into this healthcare. But first, I will take a look at the news making rounds across the world, and here are the headlines before we go on our break. First, we see that Consumer Reports finds dangerous level of leads in cassava-based food. And also, we see that Cornell expands cassava seed projects in Tanzania. We'll have details of this and more after this break. We'll be right back. It's still EcoView. You're welcome back, and this is still EcoView. A show about everything that affects our environment. It's more about our environment and me and also you. It's ecology in its view. Also, now let's take a look at news around the world to see that Consumer Reports finds dangerous level in cassava-based food, and an investigation by the Consumer Reports, CR for short, in May has found alarming high levels of lead in cassava-based products, raising health concerns for both consumers and also producers, which rely on popular gluten-free alternatives. In tests of 27 cassava products, including flour, chips, bread, cookies, and pasta, it was found that two-thirds contains high level of lead, exceeding the organization daily threshold safe for consumption. Some products contains over 2,000% more lead in a single serving than CR's food safety experts deems acceptable. We have seen lead levels as high as those found in some cassava foods, says James Rogers, who is a PhD holder and also the Director of Product and Food Safety Research and Testing at Consumer Reporters. Cassava has long been a staple in Africa, South America, and also the Caribbean. It's rising in popularity in US and also Europe as a gluten-free and grain-free substitute as felt widespread and is widespread use in snacks and also baked goods. However, the report warns that processing of cassava flour may concentrate lead content, posing risk for children, pregnant women, and frequent consumers. They flagged some brands based on the level of lead they contain. Also, CR has also advised consumers to avoid this product altogether, stating that no level of lead is good for consumption in moderation. Also, health experts stress that while occasionally consumption is unlikely to cause immediate harm, repeated exposure can lead to developmental issues in children, reproductive problems in adults, kidney damages, and hypertension in adults. Lead contamination in cassava is thought to come from polluted soil or unsafe processing methods. Previous study in places like Ghana and also the Amazon have also linked cassava's consumption to elevated blood lead levels in local population. Some manufacturers, including Thrive Market and Made Good, have since discontinued reformulated their cassava-based products. Others argue that lead is naturally occurring and is difficult to avoid. Well, this is a very interesting breakdown from Consumer Reporters. I mean, it's very important that whatever we eat is good for our health, and most importantly, it doesn't affect us in any way. And lead, for one, I mean, especially for children, children are at a very developmental stage where they need their brain to function at optimum, and I mean any break in the growth process usually will cause a very long-term harm for children, and that is why we are seeing things like this in the news to help us and also prevent us from raising children who who struggle with development, because children are at a very critical development stage. We'll go on quickly to our next news item, looking at the story from Cornell, with the aim to expand seed projects in Tanzania. Cornell University has received a 4.8 million gifts to expand a project that improves access to healthy cassava seeds in rural Tanzania. The initiative, called Mora Bora, which means better cassava for all, is led by Cornell in partnership with Tanzania Agricultural Research Institute and the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. Launched in 2021, the project has already empowered more than 240 farmers, mostly women and also youth, to become cassava seed entrepreneurs in nearly 200 villages. They have distributed over 1.8 million improved seeds, helping farmers boost yield by up to 75% and improving food security for thousands of households. With the new funding, Mora Bora will expand into underserved areas, strengthen farmers' association, and also introduce additional nutritious crops like orange flesh sweet potato and iron-rich beans. School-based demonstration plots will also link agriculture, nutrition, and educational support to communities' resilience. Project leaders say that the next phase will focus on breaking social barriers for women farmers while building long-term systems. By helping seed entrepreneurs organize, we are making it easier for them to access finance, certify their seeds together, and the market as a group. That's what the technical lead is saying. We mentioned one of the things that will most likely might be the cause of this lead, the exposure of lead into cassava, and the seed is also one of it. And now we're seeing that there's an initiative in Tanzania to give out healthy seeds so that we have a reduced risk. It's more talking about, trying to ensure that we're safe at the end of the day, because if a farmer plants a seed that already has so much of lead inside, obviously whatever it's going to produce will obviously have lead inside, and that is why we're seeing this particular initiative. We're going a quick break now. Once we return, we'll be joined by Atiba Olanike Esther, who is a food expert and among a number of things. She's going to be joining us to discuss this particular topic, and also how we can also reduce the risk of having lead in our cassava. I'll be joined by Atiba Olanike Esther after the break. We'll be right back. Okay, while we wait for Atiba to join us, I would just be talking quickly, just to highlight some few, breaking down into the numbers, because I was not able to do that earlier, talking about how UNICEF is saying that an estimate of 1.3 children globally, that's around 800 million children, already have blood lead levels above 5 microgram per deciliter. I mean, it's really sad to see, because I spoke earlier about how this is very dangerous. I mean, children, for one, are very fragile and at a very developmental stage where they need to grow, and obviously they need their brain so much because they depend on their brain so much in times like that. And having them being exposed to lead at a very young age is very, very sad. And to see that already we have in the world today 800 million children. It's a very saddening number, and I really would once our guest joins us, we'll probably be able to break all of these things down. Okay, Ms. Atiba, good morning. Thanks for joining us on EcoView this morning. Good morning, ma. Okay, ma'am, I guess I can't hear you. You might have to unmute your mic, I guess, because I can't hear you at the moment.
Hope you can hear me now.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now. Good morning, ma. How are you doing today, ma?
Good morning. Happy to be here with you,
Yes.
and thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, man. It's always a pleasure. I mean, we're really grateful to have someone like you who wears many coats. But quickly, let's dive into it because I do understand you have to run as well. What does this mean for us? I mean, having lead in our cassava, what does it mean for you? What does it mean for me and also Millionaire's family who depends on cassava almost every day? And how do we even separate the fact from the fear? Because I just even discussing one of my colleagues here in the office who was like, probably you won't be taking Gary again. So how do we even how do we navigate all of this, and what does it mean for us all?
Actually, I would say contamination of cassava with the heavy metal, which lead is one of it, is a serious issue if you wanted to be frank with ourselves. But in quote, I would say, based on the proven research that was ongoing, let me say that was going on or that was being published, it's not that we should totally say that cassava or its value addition is totally a poison to everybody.
Yeah.
No, it is just that if sections of a research was carried out and a proving of the result shows that some of the value addition, or let me say some products that the cassava is being used for is having a problem. And we can just say we can decide to exempt the usage or consumption of all those products and divert or shift to some other. These ones we are having as a research report, they are just a brand. And that doesn't mean all other brands are having the problem. So I would say there is no serious cause for alarm, but we just needed to put an attention to those brands that has been listed out for us for now. Like what we are talking about now, the company that owns those brands, they will be at the tiptoe of their own uh, more research, more correction. If not being careful, that alone can set them out of the market totally.
Exactly. Okay. Also, I want you to break these things down because obviously we've talked about how lead is not good, and also WHO recommends that there's no level of lead that is good for the body. So, what are the health risks that it poses to adults? And also, I love that you spotlight majorly on children because I feel like they are at the receiving end when it comes to this.
Yes, actually, the children are very prone to this effect of lead and the heavy metals. Actually, if we get the truth understanding of how we come in contact with this particular contaminant called the heavy metals, they are from the, let me say, from the foundation of planting the cassava,
Yeah.
the soil, and let me say the practice of planting. All these factors are what brings about the contamination. And the result of it can be minimized or can be eliminated if the production level of cassava is thoroughly managed. Like these heavy metals we are looking at, they were so concentrated at the outside, let me say, the peels of the cassava majorly.
Okay.
And if the processing level is being monitored by ensuring that the level of the peels eliminated from the tissues of the cassava is totally carried out, we can say we are not going to be prone to challenge. But do you know that the effect of the crisis in the country in terms of the food shortage has prone to the extent that most processors are not really they are not really removing the pearls out of the processing stock to the thorough level. Somebody like me, I'm opportune to be at the grassroots. I stays in Oyo town.
Okay.
And I can tell you, I almost moved to the corners of the grassroots very well. Instead of peeling, like we all understand how cassava looks like. If
Yes.
you can handle just tuber of cassava, you discover the first layer is removing the brown, followed by one white layers.
Yes.
Totally, which makes the tissue a very smooth body. But I can tell you, the way we are peeling these days is just like we are just scraping the brownish ash, because we wanted to incorporate the little quantity of that aspect of the white to the tissue so that the production level will be met. But let me say the production quantity will be met. But the truth is, if we manage the production level by doing the proper thing in peeling procedure, we will say there's no cause for alarm. But this has to do with a lot of policy management. A lot of policy management. Like when we are talking about the grassroots, who is monitoring them?
Exactly.
And what they are producing? Who is monitoring them? Nobody cares. Like I'm a processor. I'm a value addition to cassava to the fullest. I can tell you about 17 products can be derived from cassava alone. But the truth, about 17 products can be derived from cassava alone.
That's very interesting, man. So I'd have loved that you list all of the 17, but we won't go into that yet. Because I also want to understand where exactly are we at? Is it at when the cassava is planted, or is it at processing? That's when it gets contaminated, or is in the process of supply chain and all of that, trying to move and all of that, the cassava from one place, or is even the additives or the preservatives that have been added to cassava that is even contaminating them with lead? Where exactly does this lead even come from?
The lead comes from two major levels. The planting level, which is from the soil contamination due to the environmental pollution and stuff like that. And the second aspect is the processing level, based on the kind of equipment being used.
Okay.
Mostly the equipment we are using, they are not steel equipment. They are metals. They are not steels. It's not that we don't understand that steels needed to be used, but to get the equipment that is going to be steel incorporated, they are highly expensive. So people divert to the local equipment by fabricators. And they cannot lay their hands on a pure steel. Rather, they will just go and coat a metal in a steel look for us to see. After a use of time, you discover that the equipment begin to be rusting.
Showing that it's actually metal.
Where contamination comes in. So it is only if there is a management of the policy of production level, we can say we are not going to be at risk. But under the other aspect, which is the incorporation of some addictive and stuff, in quotes, those addictive, if they are being processed as well under the production level that is not sterile or that is not perfect, they can be a carrier of contamination to the product you have even put on ground before.
Exactly. Now, let's take a look at regulations as well. Are there regulations currently around this, around how consumers should be protected, and also around the production of cassava produce? And also, maybe you can now chip in the 17 cassava products that we can get from cassava itself. Okay, I guess we lost connection with. Ms. Kemi, can you hear me?
Okay.
Ms. Nika, sorry, can
you
hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you now. I would there's a policy in this country, but the truth is we have policy on paperwork, we are not executing. That is where the problem lies.
Okay.
Like everything in this country is well structured, but we are not putting it into practice. It is only in little aspects that there's a little implementation of those policies. Like people under the export now, at least I've exported before, but I can tell you vividly, when it comes to exportation, there are still some hanky-panky management of exportation, which eventually not even proving the policy effectiveness. I think you are getting right. So yes, I think we should try to advise or plead to our government that even if the policy is going to be executed, they should make it a kind of policy that the grassroots, which all the economy of this country,
Yes.
that they should be able to find it ease in implementing or in executing or the effectiveness of it, so that we will be able to say it's not until we have, it's not until I'm an executive person I should yield a good food. It's not until maybe I have huge money I should be able to lay my hands on good food. If there's a kind of policy that make it that at each level there is a good processing plant, that
Yes.
is where the problem lies. If there's a good processing plant where the farmers can take their product and go and process under a good environment and under a good processing channel with experts there being recruited by the government, I believe we will not have a problem. But the
Exactly.
fact that most of this processing is on individual farmers and nobody is managing or controlling them. These food are what we are seeing in the public. And lo and behold, people are not really catering about the quality again. We are just looking at the quantity. Like somebody will say, I don't want to take Gary. When I can tell you, Gary from Oyo is just about 500 naira per module of, let me say, 1 Congo. And you go to Lagos, you go to an executive Gary, they are telling you it's about 1,007. And you are
Yes.
not having money. There's no way you will not dance to 600 naira home, which
Yes.
is loaded with a lot of contaminant stones and stuff, either physical or microbial, or let me say microscopic. So I think we should be able to advise the government. They should make the policy so soften. Not that they should make it not standard, but they should be make it soften so
Exactly.
that
I'll
everybody
make
has.
things easy for people so that it's not so hard in
Exactly.
implementing it. Okay.
Exactly.
Let's look at the economy of cassava now, because it's a very interesting economy, as you also mentioned that you are able to get 17 products from just cassava alone. So how does this news about contamination of lead, how does it affect farmers? How does it affect exporters? How does it affect importers? And also how does it affect the economy, and also companies that survive basically on cassava production, or sell goods as regards cassava?
Actually, the effect is going to be disastrous unless we just want to be lying. It's going to be disastrous in the sense that this news is not what we had alone here. A lot of international organizations outside the country have heard about it. And
Yes.
that will prone a challenge to economic value of our product to the international market, most especially the cassava chips, which is of high exportation, and the flour.
Yes.
For the fact that they have that there is a problem on heat, and we are one of the highest country in production of this
Cassava.
cassava. Honestly, all the international organizations and countries will eliminate absorbing our product at this point in time. Or even if they will absorb, a lot of scrutinization will go under it. And lo and behold, if we have about 30 companies processing this thing in this country, I can tell you vividly about 90, let me say about 70% of the other production companies are from the grassroots. And those companies, they lie on those grassroots. I now wonder how they will mix up the product being collected from the grassroots to the one being processed under the good atmosphere, and they wanted to take it for the export. You can see it's going to be a problem.
Yes, well,
So
it's going
I
to be a problem.
think our cassava presently at this point in time, every value addition of it is under a serious problem. And it's not today. This problem has been in existence. I can tell you vividly, during COVID-19, I can tell you a lot of challenges was, even, let me say, it was highly exposed. Somebody like me, I export cassava flour, I export chips, and I export Gary. It was during COVID we first of all had a problem of ordinary our Gary not to be of a standard of expectation again when China decided to incorporate their own Gary, and I can see it on the shelf. That's why we are the best, one of the country of highest stuff. I can tell you our Gary cannot stand with the one the China is producing. That's
Producing.
why they are not having a very good cassava. They are not even having the land for cultivation. We are having the land, we are having the good brand, good species and everything, but
Yes,
we
and also
cannot
good
stand
climate.
the kind of everything. So I think at this point we are going to have a serious problem, a serious one. But
Exactly.
I believe people like us, that are into the value addition or even into the production of cassava, this news has really called a series of attention of proper cultivation practice, new technology, climate smart cassava planting, which
Exactly.
will really help the grassroots to
Exactly.
incorporate. Somebody like me, I work on that aspect for a very long time. That
Interesting.
we bring a climate smart product cultivation system to
Exactly.
farmers.
Sustainable
This is
farming, basically. That's what we're talking about.
exactly, so that those methods will help in the kind of product you have at the end, and it will even increase the yield. And we will now later see how we can work in the aspect of the production level, which is the processing, which we will be thinking of what can we do with the assistance of some government institutions in terms of giving us maybe grants or loan to have a processing plant. Like yesterday, I still work on that aspect of tomato, where we can have a processing plant of cassava of value addition of tomato within my
Yes.
state, so that at least it will reduce perishability and stuff of all these things, so
Exactly,
that there
because
will be
tomato
a
is very
good
perishable, actually. So, what are those? Because actually, Nigeria is actually the highest producers of cassava. So, what are those solutions that we can use to safeguard and also make our cassava safer? You could advise for farmers, also for exporters, for processors as well. What are those things that they should do on their part? Because again, it's a whole lot on government, if you should say the truth. So what can we do as community members in our local communities to just cushion this effect so that we have more safe cassava that is very good for consumption? What are those? Maybe probably just one or two, because we're already running out of time.
okay. I will say actually it's going to be a clarion call to everybody. So if it is a clarion call, we see it as our responsibility and we see it as an assignment. We should be able to curb the crisis to a minimal level.
Exactly.
Number one, every cassava planter or a farmer, or even either you are literate or you are not literate, should be able to bring the knowledge or understand the cultivation of it. Most especially, elimination of using fertilizer that are synthetic. We needed to remove this. This is very, very important, not because of export or because of cassava anymore, but basically because of our soil, so that we'll be able to neutralize and even go back to our foundational seeds. If we are able to take it to that level, making our local farmers, our illiterate farmers, to understand that using synthetic fertilizers in cultivating because you wanted to get higher yield is dangerous, and even checking the kind of seedling or the cultivation you wanted to do, we needed to have the mindset of GMO, genetically modified organisms products, seedlings as well. We needed to curb all these things as well. So if we all take it as a responsibility that we are going to eliminate this thing with our decision and our mindset, I believe we are going to take it to a very good level. And at the
Okay.
same time, we will now see that the government should please minimize the importation of all those GMOs as well
Exactly.
and all these things.
I guess
So
okay.
if they should, we solve it with some
One more thing, the very last thing, which is what advice exactly would you give to consumers right now? Because there's some of us that are afraid of eating cassava, eating gari, eating fufu, and that's our favorite staple. So what exactly do we have to do? Should we run away from it for the meanwhile, or we can it's still we just watch how we eat it, and we also try to get the best quality of all of these things, talking about gari, fufu, and the likes.
Okay, I would say the consumer should not be of any much crisis, because the research really states out the brands of all those things that are highly affected, and I
Yes.
can see very well those brands were stated by, I think is it James Roger or something, the
Yes. Yes.
person that really put the person that really put the research outside. I
Yeah.
think he mentioned like the chips, the cassava, and the cracker, the bread, and stuff like that. I think all those things, if we are able to list out, everybody is having the internet, which can give us a more opportunity to get this thing. And the information by ourselves, by listing out all those brands, it's telling us that if brand A is under the research, you can decide not to go for brand A and go for brand
Brand
B.
B
Like
or
now,
C.
if it is something like semo now, I didn't mean the mention of semo. We know we have like three types of semo in the market, or like four. You can, if A is out, is the one being mentioned, you can decide not to take A and go for B for now. And
Exactly.
tentatively, if we are under the, what's it called, the gluten-free products
Diet. Yeah.
for your health reason, for health reason, the consumer may decide to off the consumption of all those cassava
Product.
stuff for now, alternate to something like the corn, the wheat, the barley, the millet, the sorghum and stuff, which are still in the market. And thank
Okay.
God we are in the corn season now. Even if you cannot, even if you cannot cultivate one, you can still get the fresh one. And you can even find means of keeping one inside your refrigerator for now, so that you'll be able to have the real one without the crisis. Tentatively, that all those one can be eliminated out of the market, and or maybe their own new brand will come out and proving that they are not really hazardous or toxic to us in consumption again. I know the companies will have been working on their products now, which
Exactly.
will make it either they call it out of the market and be able to bring a new one that is not having problem. So I think the consumer, we are not really having much problem. We are not really having much problem. Since we understand what's those brands, we can just shift them from them and go to another brand for us to consume. And from there, we are good to go.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma, for joining us. It's really been an amazing conversation having you with you, Mrs. Atiba Ola Nike. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a very lovely conversation. Hopefully, we have you some other time to discuss some other aspect again that you're also good at. Thank you very much.
I will. Thank you very much. I'm great to have a blessed day ahead
And you
and
too,
happy
Ma.
weekend to everyone.
Yeah. Okay, and I guess that's how we call it a day. As we have seen today, food safety isn't just about what we choose to eat. It's also about how our food is grown, how our food is processed, and most importantly, regulated. Cassava, a beloved staple, and most of us, especially here in Africa, can nourish us. But if not handled correctly, it can also put us at risk. And also, gluten labeled may sound reassuring, but they are not a guarantee of safety. So we all have a role to play in this, both citizens and also the government, and most importantly, researchers to help us bring more things like this to light for us. The paths forwards line into a stronger regulation, a better consumer awareness, and above all, making more informed decisions in our household. And that will be all today on EcoView. Today we've discussed basically on a number of SDGs, talking about how, especially climate change and also life on land. And that is how we call it a wrap. My name remains Paul. Do not forget to follow us and also on all of our social media platforms at Idea TV. And also don't forget, you can also catch more news like this on Idea TV Live. And that's all we'll be able to take today. Remember that your health begins with what is on your plate. Bye for now.